The platform enablers were the ones that made the money during the gold rush in San Francisco in the 1800s, right? The picks, the shovels, the pans, and the pants were sold by them, correct? And Levi Strauss was born there. Today, the analogy's equal is NVIDIA since they. Let's bring up Nvidia one again. You should be smiling broadly since, after all, you own it. Do you think this is illogical, or does it make perfect sense? No, I don't want to repeat myself, but reaching $3 trillion is quite difficult from an intrinsic value perspective. However, Nvidia would be the business to choose if you were creating the ideal momentum company from the ground up. Additionally, you have a compelling narrative, a CEO who maintains focus and avoids distractions, the ability to achieve short-term goals due to the game being set up, and a market that plays a part. Considering that Nvidia is the leading pick-and-shovel provider, I believe you are witnessing one of the greatest momentum plays in history. The question then becomes, what will we make with these picks and shovels? Will we discover gold? Furthermore, the question seems ambiguous to me. And where can we find that gold? Will it be on the inside of a startup or a large IT company? I believe that this is extremely beneficial for all subsequent businesses. If you look at how these resources are being used in big tech, it is to utterly burn the ground on the economic worth of massive models. What am I trying to say here? We were all completely engrossed in ChatGPT and subsequently GPT in general, As you can see by the quality of Llama and Llama 2, these large corporations have essentially determined that they will make all of these models very good, very useful, and very, very free. Therefore, a large portion of the resources are being used to support and, implicitly, devalue that group economically. Startups will benefit from that. What will you subsequently construct on top of these nearly free tools is the question. Computational biology is one field that I have been studying for some time. In the footage you mentioned, I believe I was discussing with Orzi the capability of computing big, complex regions with less information. It's not. It's a really challenging task now. If you can literally describe every possible molecule variation in an AI model you can train tomorrow, that can help you understand protein folding. And when you combine that with something like AlphaFold, you can suddenly begin assembling tools that, in theory, might provide you with much higher probability predictions for particular molecules that may actually be able to cure sickness. An alternative to that is a business that I founded with a few others. I tweeted that out, that focuses more on material science and has made some significant advancements in the field, primarily in the area of developing next-generation battery materials. And if it works, we have one candidate who has the potential to be quite revolutionary. We're not sure yet. A few encouraging indicators. Thus, a few of these green shoots are present. Therefore, in my opinion, a large portion of Nvidia's current revenue will be wisely spent because it will go to the larger players like Tesla and big tech. They will then use it to develop some truly fundamental platform technologies, such as Dovo, FSD, or the entire Tesla platform, which includes cameras, inference, and training for all types of physical world interaction, including Llama 2. And over the coming years, all of that stuff will be essentially, I believe, open source, almost free, given away to the ecosystem. And that, in my opinion, will be a very significant event that will give rise to hundreds of new businesses doing incredibly innovative and exciting stuff. Since we haven't yet seen the big breakout business, I believe that the majority of this capital expenditure is currently going to the big companies. However, the startups that are launched within the next 4 or 5 years will benefit from all of the work that these huge guys are doing. How concerned are you about this asterisk? The information asterisk news that they are requesting suppliers to replace Blackwell's server racks because they are overheating. I'm not particularly concerned about it. You see, this happened to Nvidia approximately 5 months ago. The problem with Nvidia is that they make adjustments very quickly. The design was altered after this specific Blackwell overheating issue was resolved. We might be discussing Grace Blackwell if we're discussing a possible new overheating problem, but I can assure you that Jensen is not the type of CEO who likes to repeat mistakes. Since Jensen or Nvidia recovered from the last issue in less than 2 months, I don't see this problem occurring, or if it does, it's probably not a significant one. However, does the need for a delay affect the numbers? I know that around a month ago, Jensen told CNBC that the demand for Blackwell was, quote, insane. In my opinion, the time is the issue rather than that. The timing doesn't seem to change at all. I believe Blackwell is prepared to leave. We continue to use our motto, you have to own Nvidia into the Blackwell ramp. And I believe Blackwell is fixed. I mean, when Blackwell is ramping, that's going to be the best time to own Blackwell. I therefore uphold that. I believe the overheating problem we've experienced, especially with Blackwell, has been resolved. As far as Nvidia is concerned, we anticipate a very small amount of volume to arrive in the October quarter, followed by a significant amount in the January quarter. You mentioned that we should keep an eye out for a gap in this particular situation. What does this gap up here tell us? Watching the gaps from last week is, I believe, our theme for the week. As a result of Wednesday's extremely favorable reaction, the market opened very strongly and left these gaps in its wake. We constantly monitor the gaps, since it would usually be a setback if the market spiders or any particular security were to rapidly retreat into them. Therefore, the gaps may provide hints about how long the up advance will last. In instance, the SPY had strong upward follow-through immediately after rallying by about 5% last week. In order to maintain the breakout this week, it is imperative that it maintain the gap, which it has a strong probability of doing. Okay, we have to wait and see if the technology takes us in the correct route, because we are now seeing a lot of enthusiasm, at least in the pre-market. Right now, I want to go somewhere else. I will once more clear the charts. It's so much fun. Katie, I get why you enjoyed doing this. Now let's look at the VIX chart. From here and then from around here, we will examine overbought and oversold conditions. Therefore, I think the overbought line is at the top and the oversold line is at the bottom. What does that teach us? What do these charts tell us? It's fascinating. A very distinct trading range has emerged on the VIX. The range is bounded by resistance around 22 to 23 and support around 15. We would say that the high volatility cycle that started in July is still in place inside that range. But if the bottom border of that range, the 15 region, were to be broken more forcefully, it would indicate that the market is in fact going to be able to continue rising. Naturally, that would indicate that a cycle of reduced volatility has resumed. Therefore, you would anticipate some consolidation, that is, a sideways move followed by an oversold bounce when the VIX is in an oversold situation close to that support. Naturally, you might then extrapolate that to the S&P 500, with which it has an inverse relationship, and anticipate a pullback and consolidation in the S&P. The only question is how dramatic that will be. Okay, Katie, I'd like to move on to another stock, the most recent Dow component. Every trader I speak with has it and frequently discusses it. Naturally, I'm referring to Nvidia because we were practically CNBC Nvidia here. I'll display the chart right here. A 100-day moving average is seen here. It is represented by the purple and purplish lines. The goldish line is the 200-day. You can see an area of resistance right here. In this deal, what does that tell you about this stock? Accordingly, Nvidia is referred to as testing resistant. A breakout is still pending confirmation this week in our plans after the 141 level was decisively cleared last week on a 9% gain. Therefore, it would be a bullish development and confirmation of the breakthrough if Nvidia closed above that level on Friday. The measured move price target from that breakout would be roughly 157. In the long run, that might be a little too cautious, but it's